What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Athletics Fantasy Cheat Sheet brought to you by JockMKT. The fantasy playoffs are upon us. Let's talk Week 15 ads, drops, and playoff heroes. And here we are with our special guest, Benny Ricciardi. I'm Claudia Bellofatto, joined by the always lovely Jake Ciely. What's up, guys? How we doing?
Not too much.
Hanging in there. Excited.
What do you mean not too much? I feel like both of you have been doing stuff since 6 a.m. today.
I don't wake up at 6 a.m. Maybe Benny.
Yeah, I have kids. I'm up before 6 a.m., unfortunately. I wish I could sleep in.
All right. Let's start with the Rams rookie running back Cam Akers. In Week 14, the 24-3 win over the Patriots, we saw him have 29 carries, 171 yards. But then head coach Sean McVay was saying he doesn't want to really rely on Akers too much. Benny, this one goes to you. How should fantasy managers weigh that comment from head coach when considering Akers on their roster?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams all season long has been a tough one to decide what they're going to do with running backs because they don't even know what they're going to do with running backs. They basically go with the hot hand theory. But Cam's been a hot hand for most of these games recently, and if you just watch them play, you can tell that he is the most talented running back that they have on that team right now. So I'm going to forget about the coach speak here, and I'm going to keep rolling him. The last 2 weeks, he's basically had almost all of the work for them. He's getting work in the passing game. He's taking a lot more of the carries right there. We got to get him in the end zone a little more often. He's been stopped a little too often inside the 10-yard line here. But other than that, I think he's definitely somebody you want to roll with at this point in the season.
All right. Thank you, Benny. Let's move on to the Steelers, the now defeated Steelers. Their run game has been suffering. Jake, you gave running back James Conner. Well, if we're talking ducks, you gave him 3 ducks, which is translated somewhat concerning in your Week 15 waiver breakdown for those who haven't seen it. Conner had a 1 double-digit score in Week 7. So head coach Mike Tomlin also said actually that he has a quad injury from that Week 14 game against the Bills. So with all of that said, Jake, what's your confidence level starting him in the playoffs?
He has to be healthy in practice. So really, it's 3 out of 5 because so the 5 is the worst for everybody out there that don't know, and it's DuckTales for everybody else that doesn't know why I chose ducks. So James Conner's 3 out of 5 because if he practices Thursday and Friday, he's still in the RB2 conversation just because he's the best option they have back there. And it's not inspiring. He's actually not looked great since that what you mentioned, his last double-digit performance. So you have to roll him out there over a lot of options that you have if you're somehow survive with James Conner in the playoffs, but you can't feel great about it. That's why it's kind of that middle road. Now, if he's limited Thursday and Friday, I would almost just find another option. Benny's Frank Gore might even be a better option at this point. Just like nobody on the Jets. Here, Benny, seriously, like if we said 15 carries for Frank Gore versus what we've seen from James Conner the last 2 games.
I mean, listen, is Benny Snell available? Because I would much rather start my
Benny Snell is trash.
Yeah, but you know what? So's Frank Gore at this point. I mean, what are you going to do at this point with Frank Gore? At the end of the world, there's going to be 3 things going on. You're going to have Willie Nelson and Keith Richards smoking a joint with Frank Gore taking handoffs. And other than that, none of it's going to be good.
So bottom line, James Conner, if he's healthy. If not, then you guys can
full practice it. Yeah. Check the link for your rankings.
All right, Betty, back to you. What's right with the Colts right now? Where's your trust scale specifically with wide receiver T.Y. Hilton?
So let's start with what's right with the Colts right now. What's right with the Colts is coaching and defense. Those are the 2 things that are right with them right now. I have a lot of faith in their coaching. I think that they're going to figure out ways to score points like they did last week and, put up enough points there. The other thing that's right with them is they play the Houston Texans this week. So they're going to go out and win that game, which is also why I am not that high on T.Y. Hilton, because to me, I think this is going to be a game that Indianapolis controls from the beginning to the end, where they're not really going to need to throw the ball all that much. If you give me a game where they may be down, they may be trailing, and they may need to put up a lot of points in order to win, I'd feel a lot better about T.Y. Hilton because they're going to have to pass.
Wait. Where are you saying you don't feel good about him? Like rank-wise?
All right, so like rank-wise, if you're expecting T.Y. Hilton to be a wide receiver 2 or 3 for you this week, like if he's your wide receiver 3 this week, I'm okay with that. I have no problem rolling him out there. But again, I think this is probably more a game where you expect maybe 7 targets tops out of him. So if depending on who your other options are, if you have other options that you think are going to be better, by all means, I would rather roll other options. If your other option is somebody who may not even see 5 or 6 targets, then yeah.
Everybody on the Bengals, everybody on the Giants. No, I just wanted you to clarify because I'm back in on T.Y. Hilton because of how they've been using him. And Benny, you know this as much as I do. I'm even in on him despite the fact that I hate the narrative. Like, he's facing the Texans. He always smashes the Texans. Like, I hate those kind of narratives.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, like, it's a good matchup for him, but you also have to think of the game flow. Like, to me, I don't think the Texans team is good at all. To me, they're one of the most overrated teams in the league. You look at their against the spread number, they're like 4-9 this year against the spread, which means that, you know, even to this day, people still look at the Texans as a top team, and they're just not. They're not good on offense. They're not as good on defense this year. There's nothing about this team that makes me think that this is going to be a close game. I think even the number right now, the spread on this game is like 7 or 7.5. So, you know, even the sports books are expecting them to basically lose pretty big to Indianapolis here, which to me means you're probably going to be leaning more on the running game here. So I don't think it's going to be a high volume T.Y. Hilton game. I like T.Y. Hilton. I do think that he's a lot better than he was at the beginning of the year in the way they're using him. I just don't think today's the day that you really, or Sunday's the day you really want to roll.
I think he still might be in my top 20. Just so you know, Claudia, you do not have to try and pronounce that last name.
Well, let me try, Jake. Jeez. Mark Whistle-Mireski. No, probably butchered it. Anyways, thank you, Mark. Welcome to the semifinals in a standard league. Which two wide receiver should I go with? From Diggs, no brainer. DJ Chark, Emmanuel Sanders, Darius Slayton, or Henry Ruggs? Who wants it?
So Diggs and crap basically is what this person is dealing with.
I convinced themselves.
Here's the thing: is DJ Chark hasn't been on the same page as any of the quarterbacks, Minshew or not, since week 3. And the good news is Minshew's back, and the good news is he's still getting 6, 7, 8 targets a week. So I'll go with Chark, but I would not expect it to be a smash. Like, everybody just assumes Minshew is back, and I love Minshew for fantasy purposes, but the truth is Chark, just whatever's happening this year, he's not on the page of everybody else. But if you're going for upside, Benny, here, he's got the most out of all these guys.
Yeah, I mean, with Henry Ruggs, you're basically hoping he gets 2 long touchdowns or something.
Or you're playing the Jets and they tank at the very last play.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the problem. They're not playing the Jets again this week. So I don't think you could really expect Ruggs to get the long touchdowns. Sanders is a little bit interesting there, but I trust Chark more too. So I'm with Jake on that one. And Diggs, like you said, Diggs is the no-brainer.
Why so? Oh, thank you. Why so Mursky? All right, got it. Sorry about that.
Why so serious?
All right. Thank you guys for that one. Let's move on to Miami Dolphins receiver Lynn Bowden. Bowden saw snaps in only 5 games for Miami before week 14 against the Chiefs. But in that game, we saw him with a team high of 7 receptions and 82 yards. Jake, this one's to you. What more do you need to see from him right now to add him to your roster?
By the way, everybody, you can still ask questions. So we usually get a lot more than these. This, like, feel free to ask them like normal. But so what I need to see is I've already added Bowden everywhere I possibly can, because you look at the Dolphins, he's arguably all they have left. Devontae Parker might play, might not play. Even if he does, do not start him. I actually said this, Betty, earlier on Twitter. Drop him and hope your opponent picks him up to play him, because you don't want to play him against the Pats, so you get the double dip. You get him off your team, and then you can watch the 1 point scored against you. Bowden's a great slot option, and they're down him. They're down Jakeem Grant might not play. Mike Gesicki's out, so you're going to be walking into 7, 8, 9 targets again, and I think he's a very solid PPR 3, wide receiver 3, maybe 4 at worst.
All right. Looks like Benny agrees with that. Let's move on to Washington football team wide receiver Terry McLaurin. Some folks I was seeing on your waiver column, actually, Jake, complaining that he's cost them a win or nearly cost them a win the past few weeks. Washington will face the Seahawks in week 15, who have given up the most fantasy points this season. How does that factor into where you rank McLaurin for week 15?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that is what you just mentioned is the big thing here. He's got a great matchup this week, and it doesn't even matter to me who the quarterback winds up being there. It looks like Alex Smith is going to be back from what I'm reading right here, but I honestly don't care either way. You want to throw the ball against Seattle, you're probably going to have to throw the ball against Seattle, and Terry McLaurin's a guy that has had a very big season. The guy has 1 or 2 bad games, that's fine. He's one of those guys that if you drafted him in early in the year, you drafted him to be one of your studs. And especially if you made it to the playoffs now, you play your studs. You don't sit your studs in big games right here. So I have no problem rolling Terry McLaurin out again this week.
All right, Alexander Pushkin, lowest floor in half PPR league, Kuti, Lamb, or Marquise Brown?
I mean, it's Brown. He can get you a 0. That's the lowest floor. You can't get much lower than that. But at this point, I don't know about you, Betty, but I'd still play him over CeeDee Lamb. I'd still just go for it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Andy Dalton-led Dallas Cowboys offense at this point right now. And again, what does floor really matter for you at this point? If you're made it to the fantasy championship, you're trying to win it, man. You need the upside. The upside there, Marquise Brown could catch a long touchdown like he did in the last game the other night. I mean, this is a guy that's got big upside right there. So roll him out there. I like that.
Tennessee or Arizona defense from Srikanth ready. What do you think, Jake?
Benny, yeah, I'm going Arizona. I've actually been on Arizona because of the pressure to get after the quarterback. And here's the thing about Hurts. He can run away. Jalen Jones can't run away right now. He is broken. But if he's facing, this is why if you saw some teams defensive, fantasy defense-wise, facing Kyler Murray, same thing. Just because they run doesn't mean they always get away. So if you're looking for sacks and then Jalen Hurts has some bad decision-making still going on, he's a young rookie that probably wasn't expected to start this year. Even if you get the pressure on him, he starts to run, he might still throw it and might throw an interception. He had a pick six almost that should have happened last week.
See, this is a tough question here because you may not have Matt Stafford for Detroit this week. So if Detroit's rolling out a backup quarterback there, Tennessee might not be a bad option too. I think Arizona's defense is just so much better. That's the big
yeah. Well, and that's to your argument before about Indianapolis. I feel like if you have Chase Daniel at quarterback, Detroit's just going to try and run it the entire game.
Yeah, so you're not going to get a lot of chances for sacks and interceptions that way. So it makes sense. So yeah, I'm on board with that. And when we talk about Jalen Hurts, I think you basically made the argument for why I would play Mitch Trubisky over him too.
Over Hurts?
Yep.
Moving on to my next question. Wait a second, guys, you're getting ahead of me here. All right, let's talk then. Eagles, Jalen Hurts or Bears, Mitch Trubisky. Hurts in his first career start finished 17 for 30 for 167 yards with a touchdown in Week 14 win over the Saints. Trubisky completed 24 of 33 for 267 yards and three first half touchdown passes in Week 14 against Houston. Week 15, who do you start? Benny, I'll take first.
Well, we know Benny's answer.
Yeah, you know where I think I'm going to go with Trubisky here. I just think the matchup is just better for him. I think the Eagles to get blown out this week is really the way I'm looking at it. So I am not looking for Jalen Hurts to have a very good game here this week. Again, might be better than what Carson Wentz has been giving us this year, but that's still not a very high bar to get over right now.
Let's be honest about things. Sometimes teams take longer to adjust. We saw that with Justin Herbert this year, but defenses have started to adjust to him, why he's making mistakes. Benny, you know this, I know this, and we're not NFL coaches. If you're telling me that Arizona's not going to walk onto that field and say, we're going to spy Hurts and make him throw to beat us, and the risk that comes with that, as crazy as it sounds, I know you don't want to put Trubisky in your lineup to say, like, I'm riding my playoff hopes on Trubisky, but that's where we're at this point. I would start Trubisky over Hurts as well.
At this point, though, if either one of them is your starting quarterback and you're still alive in the playoff, I don't know how you got there. Yeah.
Good point. Guys, don't forget to drop your questions. Just in time, Denise Miller. I had a huge week in what was my bye week.
There you go.
As you said, bittersweet, but can Jonathan Taylor and David Montgomery continue and get me the championship?
You're riding them both, Benny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I really like what they've been doing with David Montgomery right now because the beginning of the year, he was kind of I don't want to say part-time player, but he was in a little bit of a timeshare. Lately, he's been the guy, and he's been showing some explosiveness. I mean, that first touch he had the other day was, an 80-yard touchdown? So there's some upside there. And Jonathan Taylor was another guy who, a lot of people were really high on coming into the year. Hadn't done anything near what people expected, but the last couple of weeks he's really come on pretty strong. So I like that a lot right there. So hopefully he can keep the Jonathan Taylor piece I feel better about than the Montgomery piece this week, but hopefully they can keep getting it done for you.
Well, how about this one from Christopher Weaver? He wants to know, in a standard scoring league, Jonathan Taylor or Chris Carson?
Yeah, Benny, I'm going to tell him to check the link. But the link's not out yet. So Jonathan Taylor, everybody runs on Houston. Everybody. And even with Benny's point earlier, too, about how this game script could likely go, Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the 49ers running back, Jeff Wilson. My question, is he the savior that many of us might be looking for in our fantasy playoff survival? I know the health of running back Raheem Mostert, who has an aggravated ankle, aggravating him again. He's been dealing with it for a few weeks now. That'll be a big factor in all of this. But with all that said, how should we be looking at Jeff Wilson?
I'm laughing, Benny, because I'm ready to get Jerick McKinnon by Shanahan this week. After, aren't you waiting for to get screwed over?
It might happen. I mean, that's the thing. You know that San Francisco is going to pound the run. That's the way that they do it. So really, I mean, I hate to say this because we can't answer this question right now until we really know what's going on with Mostert. But
let's say Mostert's out. I think you have to put Jeff Wilson inside the top 20 and then just close your eyes and don't watch.
100% agree. 100% agree. It's not something I feel good about, but it's the truth.
All right, Sam Freder, sorry. Let me know if I said that wrong. Is Deshaun Watson still a top 12 quarterback? No weapons, and another tough matchup this week after QB 17 versus Chicago.
It was Chicago. For one thing, it's not as tough of a matchup as people think. The Indianapolis Colts defense has been not terrible in the second half, but it's not the first half defense you were worried about.
If he's top 12, he's barely top 12 for me. But
he runs. That's what helps.
I was going to say, if you
I will say this, Benny. He's top 12 if Cooks plays, not if Cooks is out.
I would agree with that, yeah, because otherwise, basically, Kiki Kuti is the only, decent wide receiver that they have remaining there at this point.
Chad Hansen, savior. Come on.
Like I said.
Wait. Hold on. Mondo. Wait. Before you even don't read this question, Claudia. You got to get the answer from Peter first, Nando. There's like 17 D. Johnsons. Like, was this Duke, David, Deontay? There's like...
All right, we'll wait on that one. Denise, Jake, speak about Deontay.
No concerns. The drops affect his fantasy production, obviously, but they benched him in the second quarter. I mentioned this on Pat Mayo's show today. I've mentioned this in a tweet. The second half, out there for 100% of the snaps. He was running routes on 80 to 90% of them, and he got his normal 20 to 25 target percentage. They made their message clear in the second quarter, and he was back to normal.
All right, well, we're waiting on that D. Johnson. Buccaneers running back Ronald Jones, who ranks fourth right now in the NFL with rushing yards at 900 yards this season, would be a player to rely on, but he's having surgery on the fractured pinky finger. Jake, how do you see this affecting the value of Bucs running back LaShawn McCoy and Keyshawn Vaughn in his absence?
So if Ronald Jones is out, this isn't a definite that he's out, but if he is, I think they were a full-blown committee at this point. You would assume, like 2 weeks ago, Benny's and I said 2 weeks ago, it would have been Leonard Fournette. Fire him up as an RB2. But he game day inactive, healthy, no issues there, and they got some usage from Vaughn and LaShawn McCoy. Like, I don't understand what Arians is doing that he's playing LaShawn McCoy. Even if you're frustrated with Leonard Fournette, you're playing LaShawn McCoy over Leonard Fournette. You would assume Fournette's going to be active, but I see this being a complete split backfield. I'm avoiding this backfield. I'm avoiding the Bengals backfield. I'm avoiding the Dolphins unless Gaskin is back. Like, just avoid these ones where you have no idea what's going to happen.
All right, we got the answer. David Jones. So, hi, folks. What do you think? Better to bench Gurley for a Chargers running back or maybe David Johnson? I didn't read the rest.
Benny, you're going to say Dave Johnson, right?
I mean, I don't like to, but this is one of those things where, like, if these are your options, I'm like, it's one of those you just.
How did you make it this far?
Yeah, you know what? To me, you're throwing darts at this one because I'm not really a big fan of any of this, to be honest.
Well, I think he's only asking Chargers running back if Austin Eckler's out, and then maybe it's. Would you go Ballage over David Johnson?
I mean, I would probably go Ballage over David Johnson if Austin Eckler's out. If Eckler plays, like I said, you hold your nose and you probably play Johnson.
That entire Chargers team is on the questionable tag right now.
Yep.
Jeffy Heisen in a PPR league. I can only pick three: M. Davis, J. Robinson, Jacobs, or Carson.
Here's my answer, Benny. Play Jacobs because he plays Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to know if you're good, if he gets a good score, James Robinson, Chris Carson, easy. If not, you bench Carson for Mike Davis and go for the upside.
Yeah, I mean, Robinson is the no-brainer there to me. So you're really asking the question of do you play Mike Davis or Carson?
Josh Jacobs or Carson.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I'm playing Jacob. I play Jacobs, and it really comes down to Carson or Davis for me, and I think I lean Davis a little more than Carson.
Tannehill. Move on. Tannehill.
That's not even a question.
No, Tannehill's worst game last week was he still almost scored 17 points. Just because Derrick Henry does great does not mean that Tannehill's going to do bad.
Yeah, that's actually an insult to Tannehill to put him in the same,
in the same conversation
right there. So.
Nick Swyatt Tech wants to know
what's with your guys' names? Like,
what?
Why do we have no Jones or Stevens or?
I like it. Come on. Even if Stafford misses the game, should I start Swift over Zeke in a half PPR league?
Look at Benny's eyes. I'm starting Swift.
Yeah, I think I am too, and I hate to say that, but that's how far it's fallen this year. Yeah, I think I would probably go with Swift too.
There's your floor question from earlier, though, Benny. If the rest of your team is rock solid, Swift is going to get you, potentially a 20, potentially a 5. Zeke's going to get you 7 to 8, 9, 10 points, and just throw them out there.
Yep. No, I'd agree with that. Zeke whatever's going on with the Cowboys right now, like I said, I hate that whole team at this point, and I'm not willing to invest in any of it right now. The offensive line being banged up for them this year has really affected everything that they did.
Well, and the flip side of why Zeke's got a lower ceiling this week is not just the usage, but as you mentioned, the 49ers, all they do is run. That game's probably going to be one of the fastest games this week, and you could get lesser touches for Zeke than normal.
Here's a specific question for you guys. What's your advice for someone starting Raiders wide receiver Nelson Aguilar and Broncos wide receiver Tim Patrick at that 2 spot going into week 15? What's your advice for them?
I'd say enjoy it. Look, Nelson Aguilar and Tim Patrick are almost the exact same wide receiver. You're going to get 20 points, 5 points, 20 points, 5 points, and then maybe a 10 mixed in there. But they're both at the point now where if they're your 2 and 3, you're probably okay more often than not. Tim Patrick, I've been saying this all year, Benny, is like, I still don't get it. What is with the... Yeah, I have a new award for the offseason, Benny. It's going to be like the most disrespected fantasy player, and it's Tim Patrick this year.
I mean, I have no problem with that. He's a big guy, and he's a big target that they like to look at down in the red zone. So there's definitely touchdown equity there. If you told me in week 1 that you were rolling with Nelson Aguilar and Tim Patrick for the season, I'd be like, good luck. If you want to join my league next year, I'll
24-team league?
Yeah. You know what? I mean, listen, I lost a fantasy championship to Jake the Snake Plumber back in the day because somebody picked him up in week 15. It doesn't matter what they do for the whole season. It matters what they're doing right now. And right now, these 2 guys are arguably the number 1 wide receivers on their team. So you're starting number 1 wide receivers if you got a chance.
True. Good point. Let's finish with a little double Higgins action. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins or Browns wide receiver Rashard Higgins, a.k.a. Hollywood. Who and why?
Benny.
Give me a second. I'm looking at some of my numbers for a second. You start.
So
Thank you first.
I will actually ride Baker Mayfield and Rashard Higgins. Mostly, I wasn't in on Higgins when Kadarius Hodge was back, but he got hurt and he's missed time, and now Higgins is essentially the number 2, sometimes the number 1, depending on what's going on with Jarvis Landry and his matchup. I do like T. Higgins this week if you're going boom bust. The one thing is bad matchup, Steelers, but not as bad as people think because they give up, I think, the second most now. They fell behind, I think, last week. But anyways, they're near the top and giving up the most 20-yard plays to receivers. So if they do get beat, they get beat big, and that's where you can get that's why you would want T. Higgins. But he's going to have to do it on 4 or 5 targets, where Higgins can do his on 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about that game last night and how much work that that Higgins actually had there. So I would probably go with Rashard here over T. Although honestly, if you're in a dynasty league, I love T. Higgins, and I think he's going to have big upside once they get once they get Joe Burrow back, hopefully next year.
All right. That was what we had for our questions. Remember, guys, you can still drop your questions, but for now, Benny and Jake, I have a question.
Wait, it's not a dropping any more in here, or do you have to get it? I don't know.
I need you to choose 3 of these.
Okay.
Okay. I need you to choose 3. This is the biggest question that we've all been waiting for. It's kind of a hard decision, actually.
No, it's not. First of all, number 6 shouldn't be on here. It's not a Christmas movie. And then
we're arguing about this.
It's 3 easy.
Ready? What?
3 is easy. 8 is easy. And then I will go with 10. 3, 8, and 10.
I'm gonna go with 3, 8, and 6 just to make Jake up.
To piss me off.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie, although if said it wasn't.
You know my counter argument. Then put P2 up here, and everybody go look up what P2 is and tell me that's a Christmas movie.
All right, so if we're not going with Die Hard, I do agree on 3 and 8. Elf is amazing, and Christmas Vacation, obviously. I would probably go with 9, man. A Christmas Story is a classic. You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Come on.
Benny, I know you're gonna hate me. Everybody's gonna tune out as soon as I say this. I actually hate that movie.
You know what, Jake? That does not surprise me. It's not brand for you. I got to be honest.
It's our biggest disagreement so far today. I'm gonna have to go. I feel like I shouldn't go with you guys, but I agree. 3 and 8. I'll say 1 too. I like black and white, old school stuff. But,
I can see that.
Yeah.
The Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is actually, if you break it down, it's actually kind of a weird movie, and it's kind of creepy in some ways.
All right, next waiver week, we need a breakdown of that, Jake. We're all going to see it. John Lee wants to know, hard decision on running back this week. Cook, Kamara. Pick three.
I mean, Cook's a must start. I was almost, Kamara's not a must start, but
no.
I think Cook, Kamara, Montgomery, you can't go wrong with this. This is insane. I will say,
Is this like a 3-person league? How did you?
I don't know. It doesn't say. Look, I would say Kamara is actually benchable if it's non-PPR because it doesn't say what it is. If there's any PPR involvement, then Kamara is in. I'm ready to be burned by Sanders after last week. That Sanders thing, he would be the easy sit for me. I know what he just did, but Sanders would be the easy sit.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I like all 5 of these guys, so I don't think you really.
I mean, they're all going to be a top 15 running back.
I mean, for me, let's say it this way: Cook, I think, is automatic. So that you're playing Dalvin Cook here. So now it's really a question of the other 4. Montgomery, Taylor. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Jake. Sanders would be number 5 on this list for me, and then depending on but I don't know, Jake. Let me ask you this, right? Kamara, you said if it's PPR, you still play Kamara, but is that even the case anymore with Taysom?
Last week.
Yeah, but
no, that's always the thing that can go sideways is if Taysom Hill. But Taysom, you know what? It's a good debate to have because Taysom Hill was kind of forced into throwing, but Kansas City's weaker against running backs and pass catching running backs. So you assume that the Saints are going to have to pass similar to they did last week, even with Taysom Hill. So you go back to this Philly and Arizona. That's where I'm avoiding Sanders. So and we already was all over Montgomery. So it comes down to Montgomery versus Taylor. So Taylor versus Houston. Or Montgomery. Who's Chicago play this week? In Minnesota? You know what? I'll bench Montgomery in case that game gets out of hand and they have to pass a lot. Although he's been on the field, just in case.
I was actually going to say I'm probably going to go Kamara and Taylor here as the other 2 for me with Cook.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for your questions. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune into our next episode and also follow, you probably are already, but if you're not, follow Benny Ricciardi. And he's got all of his great takes. Also check out FTN Bets. And of course, follow me and Jake on Twitter too, because why not? Jake has better takes than I, but follow me too.
Everybody.
And everybody. He will always argue why he's right. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck in the playoffs. See you later.